The Philadelphia Eagles are about to fly out to Wisconsin to face the Green Bay Packers in a crucial Week 4 matchup, and by now we all know the story. Injuries have riddled this team. They're coming off of a short week on a one-possession loss in a game they should have won to face a 3-0 team at Lambeau Field with a quarterback they have never beaten, a rebuilt offense, and an aggressive defense. By no means is this an easy matchup, and to make matters worse, they will be without their top cornerback Ronald Darby. But is it a blessing in disguise? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So before we get into the nitty gritty, make sure you leave a like and hit that subscribe button if you're new around here. We're just under 100 subscribers away from hitting 14,000, and we would love for you to join our Philadelphia sports fan community. And as always, guys, make sure you're visiting phillysportsnetwork.com every single day for content from myself and all of our writers. The Eagles' pass defense has been borderline atrocious this year. They're giving up 293 yards per game, which is over 20 more than they did last season, and we've already gone into the reasons why. There's a lack of pass rush, which directly correlates to the fact that the corners being schemed 10 yards off the ball just aren't making plays. We've gone into Ronald Darby's game. The fact he's not making tackles, the fact that around the ball he's not reliable in terms of creating turnovers, and ultimately he can't stay on the field. But that doesn't mean his entire secondary has been struggling, and that's even reflected in the Pro Football Focus grades. If we're looking at every corner out of all 110 who've played over a certain amount of snaps, Ronald Darby ranks 101st, Avonte Maddox 82nd, Rasul Douglas and Sidney Jones both inside the top 40, and that I think is much more reminiscent. The main difference between Douglas and Jones and then Ronald Darby is the fact that they can play downhill. They're much more instinctive reading plays. They can come down, make a tackle and wrap up the ball carrier, and unfortunately for Darby, they're just not being picked on. They're not being schemed against and targeted over and over and over, knowing that teams are going to give up easy yards because they play more aggressive. They can press at the line and get right up in the face against some of the best in the business. But what's worrying though for Ronald Darby is that these lapses in concentration, these errors, as I predicted this offseason when I said it was the worst offseason move the team made, have come against subpar offenses for the most part. Washington should not have given Ronald Darby the amount of stick they are able to. Atlanta we can excuse, it's Julio Jones, one of the best to ever do it, but Detroit, although they've got talent with Kenny Golladay, again should not be terrorizing Ronald Darby to the point he was victimized once again. So now we enter a very peculiar situation. Some of you already know that neither Ronald Darby nor Jalen Mills, who are starters coming into this season, are contracted beyond 2019. This is their final year of contract for two different reasons. They are now both again on the injury report. Mills is still physically unable to perform. Ronald Darby is waiting. He could be out for up to a month. That's a big hit for his future value, that he takes a cheaper deal to stay in Philadelphia, but it affords Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas, two guys who have constantly had to take a back seat due to the lapses of Ronald Darby, due to the coach's trust in Ronald Darby, to get out there, show what they can do and perform just as they did in the closing stages of 2018. And Rasul Douglas has been here before. As a rookie, he was asked to come in and fill in for Ronald Darby when he missed half a season with injury and yanked straight out of action, which he was very upset about when Ronald Darby came back and still took a while to settle back in. 1 year later, history repeated itself, only this time the Eagles went and brought in Dexter McDougal before giving Rasul Douglas a chance. McDougal then ran into the side of Jordan Hicks in the short amount of time he was on the team before they finally let Rasul Douglas out on an island, and I don't think he disappointed. Sure, there were some errors along the way, that's to be expected, but he showed progress. And now him and former second round pick Sidney Jones, who are tied to this team beyond next year, have a chance to say this is our time. Us and Avonte Maddox can lock down this secondary, we can play press, we can get aggressive, we can disrupt the timing of routes, and finally give a disgruntled, upset and injury-ridden pass rush some burden lifting. Let's give these guys a chance to make some plays and buy them valuable time to rush the quarterback, something that is greatly needed against the Green Bay Packers. Now on the surface, the Green Bay offense looks very different. We're not seeing Aaron Rodgers constantly having to carry this team down the field and do all the work by himself, with play designs that are there simply to see him break out of the pocket, and instead we're seeing a very composed Aaron Rodgers, someone that has 4 touchdowns, no interceptions through the opening 3 games, but bizarrely, Gardner Minshew, Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr all have more passing yards. The thing to bear in mind though is that Aaron Rodgers has played against the Bears, the Broncos and the Vikings, all of them top 15 defenses against the pass, and somehow this Green Bay team have balanced the run with a nice committee effort headlined by Aaron Jones, and now they face a team that is at the bottom of the pass defense rankings that can't stop anyone to save their life, and come up against someone like, for instance, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who as a rookie averaged 15 yards per reception. That is crazy for a deep threat. He's got underrated speed, he doesn't get enough credit for it, and already in 2019 he's got 170 yards and is averaging 13 yards per reception with a 61% catch rate. So that is going to be a matchup. This isn't even mentioning the threat of Devontae Adams, the devout WR1 on this team. If there is ever a time for this secondary to come alive and make a statement and say, do you know what, forget Ronald Darby, forget Jalen Mills, we are the young core to build around, we are youthful, we have got contracts on our side, we are productive around the ball. Hey, if you don't believe me, just look at these stats. Now obviously these stats are subjective, but isn't it interesting how things correlate? The fact that Darby and Mills were meant to be clear-cut starters here, they don't look worlds above the realm of Sidney Jones and Ronald Douglas, and especially last season and this season, the boundaries have become much closer. In 2017, the secondary was on a different level, and I can't really explain why. The scheme was exactly the same, maybe it was just a combination of different things, but in 2019, it's clearly not the same. You've got one man very much struggling, now injured, another man injured who last year was clearly struggling, and two young bulls who have been chained down, held down, deprived of opportunity until this point. And it's not like you're getting a significant drop off in talent. All you're getting is a little bit younger, two more aggressive, more physical corners who love to play run defense, to go and hit, to make a tackle, to be aggressive around the catch point. What's the very worst that can happen? This is the game to do it. They have to go out and make a statement, stunt the Packers offense, give the Eagles offense a chance to get into a shootout and win one. And if they can do that, if they can go into week 5 against the New York Jets with that head of steam, we could be seeing a new Eagles secondary, the birth of a new era in the secondary. And do you know what? I think this is a storm that has been brewing for quite some time. These two corners keep getting pushed into games in situations that aren't ideal. Now they'll have a chance to solidify that space, to prove whether they can or can't hang with the big boys. Is this the start of a new era for the Philadelphia Eagles? Maybe Jim Schwartz will have a change of heart, and this could be the last time we see Ronald Darby or Jalen Mills suit up as an Eagle, at least as starters. But let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. Are we going to see Ronald Douglas and Sidney Jones ball out against the Green Bay Packers, or will we again be left with more questions than answers? I would love for you to let me know. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's @LiamJenkinsPSN. I'll see you next time.